from the Unarius Academy of Science. Unarius is a spiritual school, and what Unarius teaches is that we are all energy beings. First, last, and always, we are energy or spiritual beings. That we've each lived many, many lifetimes, and those past lives make up who we are today. So if you have a particular thing that you do well, whether you're a musician, an athlete, an artist, a scientist,
like Tesla,
there's a reason for it, and that reason is that you've spent many lifetimes developing this. People often look at a lifetime like a Mozart or a Tesla, but particularly Mozart always seemed so fantastic because he was writing symphonies at 4 and 5 years old, and they said, wow, how come he could do that and I couldn't do it? Well, there's a reason he incarnated into a musical family. There's a reason why it became second nature for him to write music, because he spent many lifetimes doing that. So for him, it was like walking and talking. He came into this earth world again. He said, oh, I'm going to pick up where I left off, and I'm going to keep writing music. So it's not like God looks at some of us and says, you're going to have an awful life, and you're going to be blessed. No, not at all. Each one of us makes up who we are today by what we've done in our past lives, and we're making up our future lives by what we're doing right now. So the reason Tesla could do what he did was because he had spent many, many lifetimes developing his scientific and engineering capabilities. And it was actually somebody in his higher self who was known as Michael, the Archangel Michael. So if you look back through history, you can see incarnations of these very advanced souls, these advanced cosmic visionaries, and what they brought to our earth world to try and move it forward, humanity-wise, and get us into a progressive way of thinking and a progressive lifestyle. And as these incarnations, you can recognize them right away, whether it was Einstein, Tesla, Gandhi, Jesus. These are beings who had advanced themselves, and so they came back to help us. So this is what Unarius teaches, is that each one of us has an infinite potential. Each one of us has that spark of creative spirit that's within our being. And we haven't maybe learned how to fan that and grow that and see that manifestation in our present physical life. But that doesn't mean it isn't there, that you can't learn how to do these things.
You can go on the internet and search, and you'll find all kinds of Tesla coils that'll put out sparks. We go beyond that. We recognize the brilliant genius of Tesla, that he planted the seeds for the future generations to uncover some of these secrets. Now, this is going to require a new paradigm to think in terms of the fourth dimension. But that's what really we were headed toward. So what he did is introduce a very, very important principle called frequency. And when you raise a frequency up to a very high frequency, in this case it's RF, around 500,000 cycles per second, the voltage goes up with it and you can broadcast it, right? That became radio. So this Tesla coil was miniaturized. It became the RF coil, or the forerunner of the RF coil, the heart of every radio, television, and VCR. But he didn't stop there. He went on to describe the future using this brilliant technology. You see, that's what we're going to touch upon today. So similarly, Kevin was saying that Unarius teaches that we're all energy beings. You know, the fact that you have a physical is just a temporary, illusionary thing, isn't it? At the end of your cycle, you're going to go and you're going to die. You're going to go into spirit, aren't you? And then you're going to find a dimension that you're relative to, and then you want to grow more. So that requires you to raise your consciousness to what? A higher what? Frequency. Yeah. So very highly enlightened spiritual beings are known by what? That this beautiful frequency that they radiate. Didn't Jesus radiate a frequency of brotherly love? He taught infinite love. And this is what Unarius is teaching. So Tesla designed future technology that was in harmony with nature. So let's talk about what we have today that is not in harmony with nature. It's called nuclear fission, or the nuclear generation stations. Now, everybody has a higher self. Would anybody argue with that? Everybody has a higher self. Everybody has a lower self called the subconscious, the basement, right? So it's the superconsciousness that we don't really study that much about. So every atom has the same thing. It has a higher self. And when you disconnect a person, when a person evolves in their evolution, after many lifetimes, without that connection to their higher self, what happens? They become destructive. They become a Hitler. They become a Napoleon, Attila the Hun. And same thing, when the uranium atom is disconnected from its higher self, guess what happens? A tremendous energy rush comes into this dimension, and a blinding flash of electromagnetic energy, and it's destroyed. That atom is destroyed. And all that energy, which is supposed to be pulsating into this dimension on a regular pulsations, is blasted into this dimension. And look at the destruction. All right, so scientists have learned to tame that to a controlled reaction, right? So now we have nuclear generators. Look at Fukushima. Look at the radioactivity that we're going to have to contend with. So Unarius is pointing out the fact that there are many, many things that are missing in our physics. And when you study Tesla technology, Unarius explains some of the things that we need to have for our future science to evolve and to use properly this physics, this Tesla technology. Other planets already use this technology, and they've learned to use it positively, without harming people, without militarizing it, without making it a weapon. We have not yet learned to do that, but we have a new age coming in where we're going to learn to do that.
But what are they going to do? What are they going to replace that with? Well, they're talking about wind. Okay, that's great. They're talking about solar. That's wonderful. Actually, Tesla and a fellow physicist named Lord Kelvin talked about replacing as he called them, coal smoke belching factories with solar and wind power until your wireless system is ready. This was in 1918. Okay, or actually, I even think it was before that. But the bottom line is, they recognized at that time that anything that is polluting our world is polluting us. That we are not separate from the planet that we live on. Okay? And so, what Unarius is talking about, and what we're going to give a demonstration here, is that this is just the smallest part of where we're headed in our technology. But the technology has to be wedded with something else. It has to be merged with spiritual development. We as a humanity on our planet have to become spiritually mature enough so that we can utilize the technology that they are utilizing on these other worlds already, you see. If they know these beings on these other planets, they realize if they came here right now and they handed us this technology, the first thing that would happen would be either try and blow ourselves up, or we would try and sell it to our neighbor.
Or we try to make a weapon out of it and hurt people.
So what we're talking about is that it's not out there that has to develop. Each one of us has to work on our own consciousness and become better human beings. Because each one of us is a radiating source of information. We're constantly sending out into the ethers, out into this energy universe that we live in, information that's either of a positive nature or it's of a negative nature. So as each one of us works out and discharges, as we talk about these influences from our past lifetimes that are influencing us in a negative way, then we become a radiating center of light for the world.